are a lot of people out there who seem to be very confused about the difference between not guilty and innocent. As a verdict, not guilty means the fact finder finds that the prosecution did not meet its burden of proof. A not guilty verdict does not mean that the defendant truly is innocent, but rather that for legal purposes, they will be found not guilty because the prosecution did not meet the burden. Here's what some of her actual jury said, either after the trial or very recently. One said, and then we sat there for a few minutes and were like, holy crap, we are letting her go free. Everyone was just stunned at what we were about to do. Are you okay with this? And I said, hell no, but what else can we do? We promised to follow the law. Another jury said, generally, none of us liked Casey Anthony at all. She seems like a horrible person, but the prosecutors did not give us enough evidence to convict. They gave us a lot of stuff that makes us think that she probably did something wrong, but not beyond a reasonable doubt. Another jury member said, I think now if I were to do it over again, I'd push harder to convict her of one of the lesser charges like aggravated manslaughter, at least, or child abuse. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I didn't stand up for what I believed at the time. Another juror said, I did not say she was innocent. I just said there was not enough evidence. If you cannot prove what the crime was, you cannot determine what the punishment should be. The judge from her trial said he doesn't believe her new documentary claims. He said Casey Anthony's believability is pretty much zero. With regards to those accusations against the father, no normal human being does that. George was a former police officer. Why would someone take a tragic drowning and turn it into something else? You just don't do that. I've never heard of such a case. Casey's always been one for dramatic flair and just not believable at all. On one side, she was quiet and shy in the presence of the jury, very calm and collected. But when the jury was not there, she was all about herself. She was very outgoing. Putting on a show? There were two clear contrasts. I call them the two faces of Casey. She knew how to play, work, and take advantage of the audience. Again, this is the judge. So why did they find her not guilty? Because first, the prosecutors overcharged her. By the time the body was found, it was too badly decomposed to provide a clear evidence of the cause of death. Yet they still decided to charge her with first-degree murder and ask for the death penalty. Making it a death penalty case, that really fucked it up. Because now the prosecutors really have to prove it. Next, they overtried the case. They used crazy science. They tried to explain literally every tiny detail when they didn't have to, and that really confused the jury, according to actual jury members. And most importantly, Casey Anthony was not found innocent. She was simply not guilty of murder because the prosecution did not prove each and every element of the charges they brought against her beyond a reasonable doubt. Here's some stuff from the crime scene investigator from the original case. So this is Alina Burrows. She was the primary crime scene investigator. She spent 11 days at the scene meticulously gathering the little girl's remains and additional evidence. So was Kaylee's body in the trunk of Casey Anthony's car? So Casey Anthony claimed in this Peacock thing that basically her father took Kaylee and apparently he was holding her, hostage for a month or whatever she said. But when Casey Anthony's Pontiac was found abandoned weeks later, several people said that it smelled like there had been a dead body in the vehicle, a detail that does not appear to reconcile with Anthony's story that her father took care of disposing the body. Based on the totality of the evidence, there was a deceased individual in the trunk of Casey's car. There was the smell of decomposition, and there were also hairs from Kaylee that had the banding that seemed to indicate that she was dead. Did Casey really believe that Kaylee was alive during the 31 days she was missing? My father kept telling me she was okay. I had to keep following his instructions. He told me what to do. I tried to act as normal as I could. Well, if Casey believed that Kaylee was alive, why did she borrow a shovel from the neighbors? I went to the neighbor's house personally and collected the shovel that she borrowed. What was the explanation about that? The cadaver dogs had hit on a spot in the family's backyard, but the area was too full of roots to bury anything. So no one buried the body in the backyard, but why did she borrow the shovel? Where was the duct tape? Well, Casey Anthony didn't really touch much on the duct tape. But the medical examiner says that a mandible will not be attached to the skull in a decomposing body unless something is there holding it. The defense argued that there was no DNA on the duct tape, but there was no DNA anywhere. It had been outside in the heat, moisture, sun, and elements for 6 months. It was even underwater at some point. This is in Florida, for God's sakes. Where was the emotion? Well, the interview was all very centric to her. When emotion was shown, it was all about how she was feeling, how the loss related to her. Casey talked a lot about how she felt, but why didn't she talk about how Kaylee felt? Big red flag. Oh. Do you ever wonder, guys, why Casey Anthony never testified at trial? This is because she wouldn't hold up to the prosecution's questions. Her own team knew she was a liar and that she would continue to lie to the prosecution. Remember, she was convicted of lying to police. To those who don't think Casey Anthony was paid for her interview, they're allowed to say, we did not pay Casey Anthony for her interview. However, they do have to pay her for any photos they use of Kaylee Anthony. These can sometimes be up to $30,000 a photo. Girl. Casey Anthony has been paid for sharing Kaylee's story in the past. Anthony was paid $200,000 for photos of Kaylee in 2010. $200,000 in licensing fees. Anthony allegedly teamed with a producer to pitch a $750,000 interview special in 2011. Producer Scott Sternberg had teamed up with Anthony shortly after her acquittal and was shopping the idea to networks. He was asking for $500K to $750,000 to deliver Casey Anthony, but it never happened. I wonder why it never happened. They probably just didn't want to pay her to help her profit off of getting away with murdering her daughter. By the way, Casey Anthony, she went on to launch a private investigation firm. You want to hear something funny? You want to know the one case that she has not touched with her private investigation firm? Her own, her daughter's. Not once. Never looked into it at all. Never had anyone investigate it for her. Not one single time. Okay, well, she's saying her dad did it, so why isn't she using her newfound private investigation firm and the powers that may come with that to lock the fucker up? Why is that? Why is no one knocking down his door right now, you know? And I want to leave you all with this. Many people are saying, well, the new documentary, it shed light. It showed new evidence that we haven't seen before. Did it? Did the show that was centered solely on Casey Anthony, did it provide new evidence to you? Let me ask you something. Where did this evidence come from? Where did you hear the evidence come from? Just curious, where did you hear it come from? This newfound, oh my God moment, where? Did it come out of these? Right here? Is that where you got this new evidence from? The accused child murderer who lied profusely, the one who's now throwing her own family under the bus, like every single family member, to protect her own ass, not taking any accountability. Because let's say you believe her and that the dad did it. Why did she cover for him? Why did she cover for the man who allegedly sexually assaulted her, even after she was fully protected at that point by the authorities since she was in prison? Why didn't she come forth with all the proof and the evidence of this? The only proof or evidence that she comes up with comes from here, right here. That head, that brain of hers. Just whatever suits her at the time, whatever she can just, say. To those who believe she is innocent and now believe Casey Anthony, I do genuinely feel very, very sorry for you, because you have successfully been manipulated by a masterclass manipulator, one who was convicted of lying. 4 charges, 4 counts of lying, and you now believe her.